They told you desire fades with age. But what if the truth is the exact opposite? What if intimacy after 70 isn't about youth? It's about courage, connection, and the kind of love that's deeper than anything you've ever felt? There is a quiet truth that few couples over 70 admit. It's the truth that hides behind polite smiles, hurried excuses, and the careful routines of daily life. Most people assume that when you reach this age, desire fades naturally. That wanting intimacy, wanting closeness, suddenly becomes inappropriate, selfish, or embarrassing. And so, they stop talking about it. They stop expressing it. They go quiet. But here's the emotional trigger that no one likes to confront. Silence doesn't protect love. Silence erodes it, slowly, quietly, day by day, touch by touch. Unspoken words accumulate like dust in a room, and eventually, even desire itself feels unreachable. Yet the truth is startling and motivational. Desire never truly disappears. It's still there, buried under decades of life, habit, and fear. It's still there, waiting for permission to surface. The heart still remembers how to want. The body still remembers how to respond. The mind still remembers the thrill of connection. All it needs is courage. Think about it for a moment. How many couples never speak about their needs because they are afraid of embarrassment, afraid of being rejected, afraid of admitting that the spark they once thought belonged only to youth still exists? The curiosity gap here is profound. What would happen if you spoke your desire out loud? What if you allowed yourself and your partner to remember that intimacy is not just physical, but emotional and deeply healing? Silence can feel safe, but safety comes at a cost. Every touch not given, every word unspoken, every longing unmet gradually weakens connection. It's a quiet erosion of closeness, a slow fading of what makes life intimate, meaningful, and joyful. This is the life lesson that couples over 70 must hear. Desire is not shameful. Desire is human. Wanting to feel close, wanted, and loved is not selfish. It is essential. It is the proof that your heart is alive, that your spirit still seeks connection, that your love is still vibrant. Motivationally, the message is clear. Do not let fear or embarrassment dictate your life. Speak your desire. Initiate connection. Touch. Laugh. Share a moment of intimacy. It doesn't have to be dramatic or intense. It only has to be real. And here's the most liberating truth. Once you give permission for desire to exist again, it grows. It doesn't diminish with age. In fact, when expressed with honesty and courage, desire can become deeper, wiser, and far more fulfilling than it ever was in youth. At 70, 75, or beyond, you still have the capacity to feel wanted. You still have the ability to desire. And when you break the silence, you remind both yourself and your partner that intimacy is not just for the young. It is for the living, for the courageous, for those willing to speak their hearts. Because desire doesn't disappear. Silence does. There is a truth many people shy away from. Sex after 70 is different, not lesser. At younger ages, sex is often measured in numbers. How often? How long? How intense? Society teaches us to quantify desire, equate performance with love, and believe that passion is only valid when it is abundant and dramatic. And so, we chase that ideal, measuring our worth by our stamina, our frequency, and the fire of our youth. But after 70, everything changes. And here's the emotional trigger many ignore. The metrics that once defined intimacy suddenly lose all meaning. The chase of numbers, intensity, or perfection fades, leaving something far more profound in its place. At this stage, intimacy becomes less about performance and more about connection. Every touch carries a story. Every glance is filled with history. Every gentle embrace speaks louder than any fleeting encounter ever could. It's a touch that says, "I'm still here." It's a shared moment that says, "You still matter to me." These gestures may be small, but their meaning is immense. The curiosity gap lies in the way society ignores this. People often assume that less frequent intimacy means less desire or less love. Nothing could be further from the truth. In reality, sex after 70 may happen less often, but when it happens, it carries more emotional weight than ever before. The physical act becomes intertwined with decades of shared experience, trust, and understanding. It is not the thrill of novelty that makes it powerful. It is the depth of mutual recognition, of a bond that has endured, of lives intertwined. Here's the motivational lesson hidden in this truth. Intimacy at this stage is a choice. It is conscious. It is courageous. It requires vulnerability in a way that young passion never demands. At 25, intimacy can feel effortless because the unknown is thrilling. At 70, intimacy requires courage because it asks you to expose your heart, your body, and your soul after a lifetime of experiences, joys, losses, scars, and triumphs alike. And here's the life lesson. Meaning matters more than frequency. Love is not measured by the number of times a couple shares a bed. It is measured by how deeply they feel, how openly they communicate, and how committed they are to choosing each other again and again. Every touch carries reassurance. Every embrace communicates presence. Every shared sigh is a testament to enduring desire and enduring connection. In this stage of life, intimacy becomes a form of celebration. It celebrates survival, courage, and the unwavering choice to remain close. It celebrates the truth that physical connection is not the only measure of love. Emotional resonance, mutual care, and the ability to feel seen are equally, if not more, powerful. So if you think less frequent intimacy means less desire, think again. After 70, intimacy is not about quantity. It's about quality. It's about presence. It's about meaning. It's about honoring the journey you've shared and allowing love to speak in ways that numbers never could. Because in the end, sex after 70 is not diminished. It is deepened. There is a silent fear that many couples over 70 carry but rarely speak aloud. It's not the fear of aging itself. It's the fear of becoming invisible to the person you love. Bodies change, skin softens, energy wanes, hormones shift, strength ebbs, mobility may decrease. These changes are inevitable, natural, and universal. But what many couples don't admit is how deeply these physical changes affect confidence, not just sexual function, but identity itself. At younger ages, desire is often effortless. You don't question whether you're enough. You assume attraction is mutual and constant. After 70, that assumption fades. People stop initiating intimacy, not because the desire is gone, but because fear takes its place. Fear of rejection, fear of embarrassment, fear of disappointing someone they've loved for decades. This fear can create distance. It can silence longing. And yet, here's the uncomfortable truth. What hurts most is not the changing body itself. The real pain is feeling unseen, feeling undesired, feeling as if your partner no longer notices the person you are beneath the surface. This is where the motivational lesson emerges. The need to feel desired never disappears. It may shift, it may become quieter, slower, or more intentional, but it is still present, still vital, and still worthy of acknowledgement. Desire is a fundamental part of being human, and it does not have an expiration date. Sex after 70, therefore, takes on a new meaning. It becomes not only about pleasure, but about reassurance and connection. Every touch, every embrace, every glance communicates something deeper. I still see you. I still choose you. You still matter to me. The physical act becomes a bridge between bodies and hearts, a reaffirmation that love and attraction can endure beyond youth. Here's the curiosity gap. Most people think intimacy is about performance, stamina, or passion. But after 70, intimacy is about courage, honesty, and presence. Initiating closeness becomes an act of bravery, a choice to honor both your own desire and your partner's, despite the changes that time has imposed. The life lesson here is profound. Your body may change, but your capacity to feel desired and to desire does not. Feeling wanted is not vanity. It is a fundamental part of connection, affirmation, and emotional well-being. The courage to express desire, to touch, to hold, to initiate is a gift to yourself and your partner. It says, I am here, I am alive, I am still worthy of love. And the final truth that many couples only realize too late, intimacy after 70 can be richer, more meaningful, and more profound than it ever was in youth. It is quieter, yes, slower, yes, but also more intentional, more emotionally resonant, and more fulfilling because it is built on decades of shared life, trust, and mutual recognition. The body may change, but the need to feel seen, chosen, and desired remains eternal. And embracing that truth can transform love and intimacy in the later years of life into something deeper than anyone ever imagined. There's a misconception that intimacy fades simply because people grow older, that after a certain age, desire naturally disappears and love becomes quieter, predictable, or non-existent. But here's the emotional trigger most couples never confront. It's not age that ends intimacy, it's fear. Fear can take many forms. Fear of not being enough. Fear that your partner may no longer find you attractive or desirable. Fear that your body, your energy, or your appearance has changed too much to inspire longing. Fear of not knowing how anymore. The routines of life, decades of habits, and the shift in physical and emotional capacity can make intimacy feel unfamiliar. What once flowed naturally may now seem intimidating, awkward, or fragile. Fear of opening conversations that feel vulnerable. Expressing your needs, desires, or insecurities can feel risky. What if they don't respond the way you hope? What if you are rejected or misunderstood or dismissed? Vulnerability after decades of life can feel terrifying, even in relationships built on love. So what do couples do? Often they adapt quietly. They substitute intimacy with routine. They replace longing with companionship. A hand on a shoulder, a shared cup of tea, a quiet dinner. All of these are valuable and comforting, but they are not the same as desire expressed. And here's the curiosity gap most people never realize. Even when couples settle into routine, unspoken longing may still exist beneath the surface. The desire to feel wanted, to be chosen, and to connect intimately does not vanish. It waits silently, hidden beneath habits, pride, or fear. The truth most couples won't admit is simple but powerful. They miss being wanted, but they don't know how to ask for it anymore. This is where the motivational lesson emerges. Intimacy is not extinguished by wrinkles, fatigue, or aging bodies. It is diminished by fear, and fear is conquerable. It can be faced, spoken, and transformed into courage. Choosing to voice your desire, to touch, to initiate, to ask for connection, that is where intimacy thrives. The life lesson here is profound. Love and desire are not bound by time. They are bound by willingness. Willingness to be seen, to be vulnerable, to communicate your needs. Willingness to risk discomfort for the sake of closeness. When couples confront their fear together, something remarkable happens. Routine transforms into meaningful moments. Companionship becomes active choice, filled with acknowledgement, care, and desire. Touch becomes reassurance, words become invitations, and the emotional connection deepens in ways younger love cannot match. The motivational takeaway is clear. If you feel the spark fading, do not blame age. Blame fear, and then face it. Speak your longing. Reach out. Take the initiative. Open the conversation. Step into vulnerability. Because it is fear, not age, that ends intimacy. And the moment you confront it, the possibility of love, passion, and connection, richer and more meaningful than ever, reopens. After decades of life, love is no longer about performance. It is about courage. And courage, unlike youth, does not fade. It grows. There's a quiet truth few people talk about. After 70, intimacy is no longer automatic. It doesn't simply happen because it always has. Desire doesn't guarantee connection. Physical closeness doesn't appear out of routine. At this stage of life, intimacy is a choice, a deliberate, courageous choice. Think about that for a moment. Most people assume that after a certain age, intimacy is over. That the physical closeness, the longing, and the deep emotional connection belong only to youth. They assume aches, fatigue, and years of routine make desire irrelevant. But the reality is far different. Choosing intimacy after 70 requires courage. Courage to move past fear of rejection, fear of embarrassment, or fear of disappointing your partner. Courage to acknowledge that your body has changed, your energy has shifted, and yet your heart still longs for closeness. Courage to defy the cultural expectation that passion is only for the young and to say, I still want to connect. I still want to feel alive with you. This is the emotional trigger. Intimacy at this age is not trivial or routine. It is profound. Every touch, every embrace, every shared glance is filled with history, with vulnerability, with the choice to show up fully despite the challenges of aging. It is slower, softer, more intentional, and richer than many younger experiences of intimacy. There is no need to prove youth. There is no need to perform or impress. The focus is entirely on honoring connection. The curiosity gap is clear. Most people underestimate the depth of intimacy after 70. They think less frequent encounters or gentler moments mean less passion, less meaning. But the opposite is true. After decades of life, intimacy transforms. It becomes less about physical desire alone and more about emotional resonance, trust, and mutual presence. Every touch is a reassurance. I still see you. I still choose you. You still matter to me. And here's the motivational truth. Choosing intimacy in later life teaches a powerful life lesson that connection, desire, and love are not bound by age. They are bound by courage. Courage to risk vulnerability, courage to communicate needs, courage to reach out even when life has taught you to be cautious. Courage to say yes to love, closeness, and pleasure despite aches, doubts, or societal expectations. The rewards are profound. Sex after 70 can become the most honest intimacy a couple has ever shared. It is built on trust, acceptance, and the willingness to meet each other fully. Body, mind, and soul. It is intimate not because of the mechanics of desire, but because of the meaning behind it, the intentionality, and the bravery it represents. The life lesson is clear. Love and intimacy do not have an expiration date. They thrive when chosen deliberately, courageously, and compassionately. And the deeper the courage, the richer the connection. So if you or your partner hesitate, remember this. Choosing intimacy after 70 is not a risk. It is a triumph. It is proof that love, passion, and closeness are not just for youth. They are for the living, the brave, and the hearts willing to reach out again and again to one another. Intimacy after 70 is not easier, but it is more meaningful than anything that came before.